Well, for this video update, there's not a lot to see that's different, but there's some different things to explain. So the milestone of today is that the framing crew is done, and they've done all they're scheduled to do at this point. So that's a big deal. And then I got all the last of the tape. Well, I've had the tape on the over the green stuff there, the black tape that's running up and down. But what I had not completely completed was there's places where I have to put this goop on. It's called Liquid Flash. Comes out of this big squeezer tube out the end there, and you squeeze it out, and it comes out. It's like a liquid rubber, and then I grab this thing and I, get up here and swipe it on, and it covers up nail holes that are what we call overdriven. So, for example, like, let me get a better place. Where can I find one? Oh, okay, here we go. So this nail here is not overdriven, which means sunk into the wood too far. So that's fine. But some of the nail holes went into the wood a little ways, and you can kind of see there's still a little dip right there, and those need to be covered with this Liquid Flash. So I got that done today, and so we should be done with all that. There's only two places left where we have to put this tape on, and that's the two doors. When the windows go in and the rest of the doors, we'll have to do that later on, but for now, that's all we're doing. So the next thing for the framing crew to do, and this wasn't in the original schedule and plan, but we asked for it to be done, is this is called a soffit, and you can see all this exposed wood and little beams. Well, that's going to get covered with a piece of wood that goes between here and here and covers that up, so it'll look like our shop does. So see, our shop has covers up here in the soffit, so you don't see those exposed pieces of wood like you do here. So they'll come back and do that. We don't know when, sometime in the next week or two, but that's not super critical. It's not a big deal. But we do want it done before the winter's over, or winter happens, because as you can see all that daylight up there. Well, the soffit opening is just on the other side of that. So critters, bats, birds, bugs can just come in there in the wind. So it's not very protected. So we'll want that for the winter. We got this door put in. So this is the door between the garage and the house part. So that's done. We have one pocket door put in. That's this framing here. And that's because there's a door that will slide in this track right here. Here's the track for it. And that'll be a pocket door, so it's, it slides into here like that. So we got one of those in. The guy showed me how to do it, so now I know how to do those, so I can do the rest of them. There's not that many of them, but there's a few. And then they got all their blocking done today, and that's kind of really hard to see on the phone because it just looks like more wood, which there's wood all over the place. So I wonder how many vertical boards there are in here. Let me back up a little bit, and it's like kind of crazy how much wood there is in here, but that's all the studs for all the rooms. So that's all done. So the framing crew has completed their tasks to date. We still have this open door here that we've got to do something with. They thought they might have an old junk door they could put in here, but it turns out they didn't. We just have this piece of plywood leaning up against the bottom of the door, so like, I don't know, the squirrel doesn't come in or something. Could probably jump over it anyway. But so we got to figure out something for that. We might go to a secondhand building store and just get a junk door to put in there temporarily. because we don't have the door yet that'll go in there. We don't know what it is yet. We haven't picked our doors. These two doors. This door, and there'll be a door that goes right here. We have not picked those out yet. So that's it. I think that's all to explain. So like I said, the last video, what's next is for the roofers to come out and put the felt on the roof up there, and then the framers will come back and put the soffit covers in, and then we'll be dried in for winter. And then everything else inside, the work for the rest of the calendar year will just be putting in blocking, which is like this piece right here. So you got a stud and another stud, but then you put a piece of blocking in there. And we'll do that in places like where towel racks go, and the toilet paper holder and cabinets, so that way they've got something solid to screw to instead of just sheetrock. Like a lot of times you put a cabinet in and it's in this pocket gap between studs and you're not hitting wood, so it's not super solid. But if we put blocking in here, then we can put our towel rack up there and it won't get knocked off and stuff like that. Do the same thing where any door handle swings out. They've already done that here, so this would be a door right here that would latch and swing open to here, and they've put a blocking so the doorknob, if the doorknob hits it, it's not going to poke a hole in the sheetrock. It'll just bump solidly against that little piece of blocking. So we'll do, they've done that for the doors. We'll do it for some other things. Let's see. Another thing people are asking about was there's this gap in the peak of the roof that you can see daylight through, and here it runs at that's the very peak of the ridge. There's a gap in the plywood, and that's because we're doing sheet metal, standing seam metal roof. And so that technique of roofing, its vents to vent the roof is through the ridge vent, and then they put a cap on top of it that covers that. So it's not just open to the sky once they get done with all of their stuff. The other kind of funny thing you see is, I don't know if the camera will pick it up. Nah, it doesn't really pick it up. In some of these seams, there's this really bright green color. Oh, there you can see it. There's a bright green. Because there's green paint on the edge of the board and the sun's coming through. Makes it look like we got these weird green LEDs. So you can see it right up there, right there too. It's kind of funny. So anyways, this ridge vent goes all the way through both ridges, all the way through. And you can see it up there too, that bright light running right through here, and that's part of the venting system. So I think that is it for now. I can actually close the door on our house. Kind of doesn't have doorknobs, but stay shut. I think that's it. So next week, one of the days, we don't know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the roofer will come out, put the felt on. And that's kind of the next thing we're waiting on, is for the roofer to come out and put the felt on, because then we'll have we'll be dried in with the felt. So right now we just have, you can see the plywood on the roof. But what our roof is going to look like is this roof, and you can't see it on camera, but there's these little ridges that run up the roof, metal roof, standing seam, what they call it. You can look it up on the internet if you want to see what standing seam metal roofing looks like. All right, that's it. All for now. Bye.